TomoNews presents Antarctica.
Horny seals are raping penguins in Antarctica. Adolescence can be a confusing time in life for humans and for seals. But do raging hormones and a lack of sexual experience justify seals forcing their way onto non-consenting penguins? King penguins on Marion Island between South Africa and Antarctica don't think so. They're fed up with being used and abused as sex objects. 4 instances of seal on penguin action have been documented by the journal Polar Biology. The act was first recorded back in 2006 and was thought to have been an isolated incident. 3 more cases have since been documented on the same island. Most cases resulted in a somewhat happy ending for the victim. However, one penguin was raped to death before it became a meal for the horn-grease seal. Seals have a capacity for learning, said mammal expert Nico de Bruin, who thinks sex with penguins may be becoming a learned behavior. Let's hope the bird-brained penguins can use their power in numbers to stop this awful trend. Orf, orf.
Huge crack threatens Antarctic ice shelf. The effects of global warming have reached even the coldest corners of the world, and now threaten to collapse Antarctica's 4th largest ice shelf. The Larsen Ice Shelf sits on the northernmost part of the Antarctic Peninsula and is slightly smaller than Scotland. The entire area consists of a thick sheet of ice that extends from ice caps on land and floats over deep ocean waters. Warming temperatures have caused cracks to form across Larsen Sea since 2011, with the rift growing 22 kilometers and widening to 350 meters in the past few months. The now 130-kilometer-long rift may soon cause about 10% of the ice shelf to break off. The partial loss of Larsen Sea will not itself raise sea levels, but ice being held back by the shelf may flow faster into the sea and contribute to its global rise. Scientists likewise fear that the loss of a huge chunk of ice will render the Larsen Sea ice shelf unstable and cause it to disintegrate, like Larsen's A and B before it.
West Antarctic ice sheet collapse is underway. A number of studies published in the past year show that the melting of the West Antarctic ice sheet is likely unstoppable. The glacier will probably disappear in a matter of centuries, adding 13 feet of water to sea levels, according to NASA. Researchers at Washington University in St. Louis recorded 2 bursts of seismic activity at the same location beneath Antarctica's ice sheet, leading them to discover an active volcano that will speed the rate of ice mass loss in West Antarctica. Eruptions are unlikely to break through the surface of the ice, but volcanic activity would melt the sheet, generating large volumes of water that would speed the flow of overlaying ice draining into the Ross Ice Shelf. Another study shows that warmer water at the depths of the ocean forms caverns beneath the ice, wearing away ice grounded on the ocean floor. These studies conclude that Antarctic instability will significantly contribute to sea level rise in the decades to come.
The melting of Greenland and Antarctica is changing the Earth's rotation. New research suggests that the melting of the ice sheets is shifting the location of the Earth's spin axis, meaning the North and South poles are moving. As ice melts in Greenland and Antarctica, the geographic North and South poles are migrating. This is because the mass of the planet is being redistributed, similar to what happens when a twirling skater extends or retracts arms or a leg. The poles head towards where mass is being reduced. For example, if Greenland is the only region that is losing mass, then the North Pole will move towards it. In addition to the melting of the ice sheets, changing patterns in water storage on the continents also affect the direction of the polar motion. It is estimated that 40% of polar movement is affected by the loss of ice mass in Greenland, and 25% due to the loss of ice mass in Antarctica. Another 25% is influenced by changes in water storage on the continents. Up until 2000, the North Pole was moving slowly towards Canada, at a speed of around 8 centimeters per year. Now the North Pole is moving towards the UK and Europe, at a speed of up to 18 centimeters per year. The study does not directly attribute the shift in polar movement to human-caused climate change. However, it suggests global warming is a significant factor in melting polar ice mass and smaller glaciers around the world.
More worrying news from Antarctica. NASA reports that an iceberg about the size of Delaware split off from Antarctica's Larsen Ice Shelf between July 10th and July 12th. Scientists warn that the breakoff could trigger new ice cracks and cause even more icebergs to separate from the shelf. Ice shelves are the floating parts of glaciers that act as a support mechanism. In a stable glacier ice shelf system, the glacier's downhill movement is offset by the buoyant force of the water at the ice shelf front. The system is destabilized when warmer temperatures melt both the surface and underside of the ice shelves, and this eventually leads to calving. However, collapsed ice shelves do not directly contribute to sea level rise as they float. Once the ice shelves are calved, the buoyant force that previously offset glacier flow is gone, and the glacier can slide into the ocean to rapidly affect sea levels. Experts say the remaining 90% of the Larsen Ice Shelf is held in place by the Bowden Ice Rise to the north of the rift and Gips Ice Rise to the south. Therefore, the ice shelf is unlikely to collapse in the near term. Seabed life doubles in ocean warming research. A team of British and American scientists investigating the impact of ocean warming on marine life did just that, warmed up the ocean. Scientists placed heated panels on the seabed near the UK's Rotherham research station on the Antarctic Peninsula. The panels heated the water a few millimeters above them for a year, with researchers checking in and photographing the area periodically. Researchers found the amount of sea life there had doubled after a rise of 1 degree Celsius. But after an increase of 2 degrees Celsius, only certain species continued to grow. The encrusting bryozoan grew almost twice as fast under the experimental warmer conditions. The scientists say the results provide insight into what species of seabed life will survive as the oceans continue warming over the coming century. Antarctica's Blood Falls mystery solved. A group of U.S. scientists have unraveled the mystery of why blood falls in Antarctica gets its red color. Blood Falls pours from the Taylor Glacier in Antarctica's McMurdo Dry Valleys. Scientists discovered that the lake trapped under the glacier has an unusually high concentration of salt. Salt water has a lower freezing point than water and releases heat as it freezes. This causes glacier ice to melt and enables water to flow. Researchers also discovered iron-rich brine in the water, which oxidizes as soon as it makes contact with the oxygen in the air. This causes the waterfall to turn a red color. Blood Falls was first discovered by geoscientist Griffith Taylor in 1911. Scientists had previously theorized that the water's red color was caused by red algae. Huge trillion-ton Antarctic iceberg now adrift at sea. A mega iceberg that had broken off from Antarctica is now drifting out to sea. Oh, great. A massive iceberg around the size of Delaware that had broken off from Antarctica is now floating out into the Weddell Sea. Recent satellite photos show the A68 iceberg appearing to move away from the Larsen Ice Shelf. It's over 2,200 square miles, weighs about 1 trillion tons, and has a volume twice that of Lake Erie. Experts say the iceberg will break up into smaller pieces and float northeast as it makes its way out into the open waters of the Southern Ocean. Scientists are concerned the smaller pieces could then drift into shipping lanes. Pieces too small to track by satellite could pose major risks to passing ships. Some researchers have said the calving of the iceberg was a normal event and not caused by global warming. Iceberg ahead! All eyes are on the ice, as an Antarctic ice shelf that's thousands of years old is days away from shedding a massive berg. Cracks on Antarctica's Larsen Ice Shelf were first noticed in 2010. The rift has grown rapidly since 2016, with only 3 miles of ice keeping the chunk connected to the main shelf. When it eventually gives way, the resulting iceberg will be one of the largest on record. Estimated to be about 190 meters thick, the iceberg contains enough ice to fill 460 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. The colossal mass of ice won't raise sea levels when it breaks off, but it might make the rest of the shelf less stable, possibly leading it to disintegrate and collapse into the sea. If this happens, some scientists believe an ancient glacier currently being held back by the ice shelf could raise sea levels by about 4 inches. Scientists say icebergs calving from Antarctica are not terribly uncommon, but they'll be monitoring this one as it drifts from the ice shelf due to its large size.
These penguins might be wiped out because of an iceberg. A giant glacier is wiping out an entire colony of penguins. Short of it being destroyed or moving elsewhere, there's not much that can be done to save the birds. In 2010, the Rhode Island-sized iceberg B09B became grounded near a colony of Adelie penguins in East Antarctica. The iceberg blocked the penguins' access to the sea and their access to food. To find food, the flightless birds had to make an 80-mile round-trip journey in harsh Antarctic weather. Because of this hazardous trek, the colony's population has withered over 90% from 160,000 to 10,000 now. In research published in the journal Antarctic Science, scientists say the colony could be wiped out unless the iceberg moves elsewhere or the sea ice breaks up. Adelie penguins have lived and bred in the area for more than a century. Do you think humans should try to save them? Or should we let nature take its course and see what happens?
Mega iceberg breaks up with Antarctica. This is the winter wonderland known as Antarctica, and it just lost a whole lot of volume. This week, an iceberg broke apart from the Pine Island Glacier in Antarctica. Loss of ice from the glacier contributes to a 1 millimeter rise in the world's oceans every 8 years. The part that broke apart is said to be 4.5 times the size of New York's Manhattan Island. And the word is, glaciers are a much cooler place to live than Manhattan.
British research station in Antarctica skis its way to safety. The British Antarctic Survey has completed the relocation of its Holly research station in Antarctica, some 14 miles inland. The Holly 6 research station was moved after one of the 2 chasms in the area became active in 2013, and a new crack was discovered on the Brunt Ice Shelf in October last year. The research station had to be moved 14 miles to a new site for safety. The hydraulic legs allow the station to be raised and lowered, while the skis on the bottom of the legs allow the station to be transported easily. The modules were hauled individually to the new site where they were reassembled. The research center will be closed due to safety considerations, and all staff at the station are currently being evacuated in stages. The station will be reopened in November 2017.